When you stand on the shoulders of those who came before, you might just see far enough to realize the earth isn't flat. And by the way, this is called gravity.
This is food. This is news. This is beauty. This is freedom. This is innovation. This is liberty. This is justice. This is love. This is enlightenment. This is a role model. This is peace. This is your leader.
Aloha. Today I wanted to respond to a question that was asked about how do we engage the heart, mind, consciousness connection into our daily lives, and kind of relate that to dreams and how all of these perspectives really kind of fit together, and really just go into whatever comes with the flow of expanding upon first how we've been separated from our experiences that manifest of our highest potential and have been locked into a dense format. So starting there as the platform and realizing that can take an entire lifetime or lifetimes to get through that density based upon how shallow people really get. Like the shallower you get in your reality, you can see this on, political scales, personal, artificially egoic scales, whatever it is, the more you rise in an artificial perspective, you're becoming more and more locked into the illusion of who you think you are. And as long as you're locked into who you think you are, you're locking yourself away from the true essence of who you are. So you're adopting another reality. The heliocentric model is one example of adopting a reality that benefits the few for at the expense of the many. So this can go all the way to the colonial program, the supremacy program, the politics, the mainstream celebrityism, scientism, religionism, technology separating you from nature, the evolution program separating you from the soul, the Big Bang Theory separating you from the Most High soul essence. You have the gravity theory separating you from the actual balances and harmonics of the physical reality, locking you into an illusion of a theory that they have claimed to be a law. It separates the soul, mind, and body connection. So one obvious way to realize or interact on those balances on a daily basis it's not so much to do something, it's more to stop doing what has been locking us into the lack of doingness of our maximum potential of the soul space. So the more we're doing in the dense reality, the less we'll be doing, or not necessarily less we'll be doing because it's all cataloged as an experience, but there are vibrations of experience. So if you lock yourself into an artificial ego reality, that's going to be vibrating on a level of a bowl of cereal in relation to vibrating from a space or a true knowingness, like your intuition, your soul essence, your compassionate space, your excuse me, the essence of who you are, that could be vibrating at the space of an entire universe. So you can experience the reality of a bowl of cereal. You can live the rest of your life. I'm sure there's people now that only eat cereal every day, like literally eat cereal only every day. And coming from the background of the military, I wouldn't doubt it that there's a lot of people that actually do that. They eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's just cereal, and they survive. They live. I'm sure people live on less than that. But point being is that from a vibratory perspective, that's one way to allow your consciousness to experience its reality. And the mainstream reality is pretty much no different than that bowl of cereal. It's dumbing you down. It's installing a program, and it's installing cancers at the same time. And it's simultaneously separating you from your maximum potential. So we get locked into hating ourselves. We get locked into disrespecting our natural essence, not understanding what that is. In fact, hating it and installing an artificial version of that, worshiping that, and then kicking not only so. If we understand on the soul essence that everything manifests from the soul to the mind to the body, this reality is based upon locking you into the body to sell you a body perspective of the mind and sell you out of the soul perspective completely. So it's backwards and upside down. So the reality of the mainstream reality is sold to you from the body to the mind without even a soul. Literally, Bill Nye says this. There is no soul, there is no consciousness, there's only the fatty tissue of the brain. These are your illusionists who sell you the limited universe based upon illusions so that you can fall somewhere in that space and allow the so-called powers that be that are in the know of the algorithms of this universe, the true potential of your body, the true potential of your non-physical reality, where the 99th percentile of your energy actually exists. This body is just the anchor. An example of this is your dreams. So another way to get connected with your soul, mind, body, consciousness connection is, one easy way is to slow yourself down enough to get reconnected with your dreams. Because once you reconnect with your dreams, it inherently affects your waking reality, your everyday reality. So one way is to adjust your alarm clock, or if you have to wake up at a certain time with an alarm clock, make it a softer awakening. So I know some people are waking up that wah, 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 that sort of thing. That's instantaneously locks you into a particular vibration. Like, what kind of vibration from just like colors and sounds? Like, if a kid was to paint a picture of wah, 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 what would it look like? Probably look like a duck or something. But like, if they were asked to paint a picture of a vibration, it would look real spiky and real nasty and ugly and all over the place, like a storm or something, like sucking you in. So that's the intention of this reality. It's supposed to shock you into this reality and lock you here. What it's doing, it's locking you out of the essence of who you are in every moment, even when you're awake. So when you're asleep, you're basically going deeper into your soul essence, because you are allowing your illusion, the physical reality, to take a rest, to take a break. So if you have lucid dreams or connect with your dreams, that's another way to get connected with yourself. Now in that's another space. In order to get there, you first have to go through your emotional body, which will also help you go through your emotional body in your waking state. So this is why children have nightmares, because they are heavily anchored in their emotional body, being vulnerable so much that they are provided for their parents. So the experience overall is to get through these experiences in order to put yourself in the driver's seat of your experience rather than being subjected to the cruise control, dumbed down experience of mind controllers. So it's a challenge. It's not going to be easy, and people get locked up into they get distracted or discouraged and just kind of just let it be. But like this, excuse me, this image is showing you right now, there's a process that you have to go through. There's a reason. It's not going to be easy. There's frequencies that you have to go through in order to tap into who and what you are on the deepest level. It's not just going to be given to you. You have to go through those experiences from your maximum potential in order to allow that information that comes from those experiences to manifest into your soul as wisdom, as something that, like, growing bigger roots. See, when people grow all these branches and leaves and all these fruits above the soil, that's just part of one reality. But when you start growing roots, that will affect your entire soul experience. That's what we've been separated from. We've been locked into the branches and the twigs and the trees and the leaves and the fruits of the physical reality, and we've been locked out of the roots that you can't see. Just because you can't see the roots doesn't mean that they're not there. But we've been locked out of that experience in order to worship the fruits of this 0.001% of reality. When we're locked into that space, we lack nutrients from the soil. We lack nutrients from our soul, which is where the roots come from deep connections. You can grow a tree as an illusory tree, a plastic tree, a synthetic universal tree of life for as long as you want. It'll look like something. That's what this mainstream reality is. That's what these celebrities are selling. They're selling you an artificial tree of life, a synthetic tree of life, the New Age, the SpaceX, the NASA program, the heliocentric model. All of this is a synthetic tree that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger in illusions by selling you the future over and over and over again, locking you further and further into the density because nothing actually moves. They just sell you the illusion of movement. It's like a car that's on a treadmill, and you have this movie reel rolling by on screens around you like a movie theater, and you think you're going somewhere because you have the illusion of movement. It's not actually moving though. You're dying in the car because you're not catching any ground. You don't have your feet in the soil. You don't have your roots in the soil. They're in a car on a treadmill with the eyes telling you that something's going on. So this is how literally a dream becomes your reality. So what happens when you go to sleep? You anchor your space here and you are in a dream. The you that is the soul you is still experiencing something, whatever it is that you're experiencing. So when you're locked into that, this is basically why the colonial or the Western civilization has to create all of these so-called positively charged emotional responses with politics and Hollywood and the public education system. This is the bread and circus, the doggy treats of your reality to keep you buying into the system. Technology is probably the main one. Technology, that's people's main defense mechanism when you start talking about, when somebody's asking me about capitalism or politics and they start talking all this, oh, this is all great and grand, and I'm coming from no less of the perspective of realizing the colonial agenda, and I asked them, okay, whose land are you sitting on right now? When they start talking about capitalism, and I asked them, whose land are you standing on? Where are your roots originally from? And then people just get into that. Oh, well, I don't want to start there. Let's start here. Everybody's creating a universe. It's the Columbian universe. Once you are locked into the Columbia universe, then people will defend that to the umpteenth degree. That's the heliocentric model, the Western civilization, the supremacy program, the separation from nature program, all the technology, all of this stuff is based upon a Columbian universe. And if you start to challenge that by speaking outside of that universe, they label you as crazy or attack you with ad hominem attacks, whatever it is, in order to make their universe more real and make you more or less credible. So, because that's literally a different dream, a different universe, it's a different density, a different dimension. You are connecting to roots that, that's like telling a plastic tree that in order for you to actually become like Pinocchio, if you want to become a real boy, you have to plant your roots. Like Pinocchio is he's a dead tree. He's a wooden puppet. He has no actual roots. So Pinocchio goes around, talking to if he goes into a forest, the trees are going to notice Pinocchio, but Pinocchio is not going to notice the trees. It's going to look like a different universe, even though Pinocchio is made up of the same material as those trees. The trees are going to see that that's a completely uprooted tree that is basically lost. It has zero connection, having the illusion of freedom. So in order for Pinocchio to convince himself that he's part of the best universe, like he's the evolved tree. Basically, that's what capitalism, Western society, the heliocentric model, the evolution program is telling you. It's basically a wooden puppet telling a forest of trees that in order to be the best that you can be as a tree, you have to cut yourself down and become a wooden puppet and disconnect yourself from the roots. Disconnect yourself from nature and live out this artificial reality. Hey, this is real. I can move around. You're moving around inside of a movie theater. You have no real connections. You have no non-physical connections to your soul essence. But then they have to demonize the trees and oh, well, you're not moving. You're just this old, crusty thing that, is just whatever. So that's what's going on with this whole reality. And as long as we are locked into that Columbian universe that continues to perceive its reality from those perspectives, then we won't actually make any headway. And that happens on an individual scale before it happens on a collective scale. It's pretty much like the 100th monkey test or experiment, to where if you haven't heard of the 100th monkey, look it up. It's about pretty much like critical mass, I think, or something like that. But it's based upon, hitting a critical mass energetically, and then automatically all of these conscious perspectives start to take shape without, any conscious interaction. It's happening largely in a non-physical reality, a knowingness that happens among a collective. So before it happens, you have to have those few monkeys that are wiping the sand off of those coconuts with the water or whatever. It has to happen with the few individually before it happens with the collective. So the few have to start dreaming again. The few have to start reconnecting with the soul. The few, and in order to do all of that stuff, you have to de-densify yourself in a sense that, not to completely separate yourself, but to become aware that you are more the essence of the non-physical than you are of this physical illusion. But this physical illusion has a meaning and a purpose that is a teacher in itself, just like each experience is a teacher for you. Everything is a teacher. Everybody is a teacher. So if we keep locking ourselves, like locking yourself into one version of teaching, that's another limitation. You're creating another dogma pretty much. And that's how this system of separation works. And once it lock you into the cool, the hip version of learning what it is to do, to become who and what you are, from the guru perspective, from the new age perspective, from the scientism perspective, from transhumanism, whatever it is, you're sold something that is something other than you. Like you truly tapping into who and what you are and slowing down your school so much that you realize that every moment is a teacher, every thought is a teacher, and that these so-called teachers and styles of teaching are really just stepping stones to you going back to yourself. Like for me, when I went through the military, that was a learning experience. It was shitty. It's still going on today across the military industrial complex and throughout. But I am not connected to that space as I was when I was 17 years old and had no understanding of anything. And then moving into the college perspective, and then moving into the Occupy protesting time frame. All of these are experiences not to be demonized, but at the same time not to be worshipped as the end all be all of so-called positive expansion of consciousness. I just saw Susan Sarandon on the Colbert Late Show talking about, and he referenced something like evolution or revolution. Like, what do you mean by revolution? And he really put her on the spot, because he said, are you talking about like, throwing bottles at the bankers, or setting stuff on fire and all this stuff? And so this one extreme that gets sold to you, this is how that program works, to put you in limbo, in the box of limbo, so you fall in the so-called rational. So he sets up the extreme of revolution actually means destroying everything. It's basically rioting. So he explains revolution from a rioting perspective. And then she explains that makes her explanation more rational, because his explanation is totally irrational and totally just like not of any kind of forward thinking or evolved, being. It's just this barbaric sort of, we're beyond that now. So it's this setup. It's a fairy tale, so you can buy into the commercial that's sold to you. Susan Sarandon brings the commercial. Colbert himself is a commercial. His whole show is a commercial. He still sells you the Catholic perspective and all these political Trump perspectives, all this stuff, but they play these roles. It's an orchestra. It's a composition of illusion and locking you into these illusions. So what she sells is, no, I'm talking about a revolution of politics. We need to get engaged. We need to have these people going into their local politics and talk to their local politicians, and they need to do this. That's not a revolution. That ain't shit. It's an idea of revolution, because people weren't doing that at all before Bernie Sanders started to break the seal on that garbage. But that's still a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream that actually steals your time and locks you into a deeper limitation program. That's how this program works on the soul, mind, and body scale. It steals your time by installing Windows 98 into your subconscious and telling you that it's like the iPhone 10 version of reality, your iPhone 10 software, whatever that is, or whatever it's going to be. It's actually Windows 98 being installed. And we go around showing off our Windows 98 to everybody, and it's like, hey, look, check this out. This is amazing, right? Like, hey, I got the new Windows 98 too. And so it's the Pinocchio program. It's this synthetic universe that we believe as reality. It's basically the same way children believe in the Disney program. They believe that they're, Aladdin and, the Frozen princess. And when they believe into those programs, they hate themselves when you see these representations of people, superheroes, and people that are other than you, then you become nothing. So people who are subjected to the supremacy program and the dirt that gets kicked up from the privilege program, we get lost in a dream within a dream. So the people who are worshiping the synthetic tree of life without any roots, the mainstream reality, they are worshiping that fake plastic tree that continues to grow. And they are simultaneously being worshipped as that plastic tree that has the illusion of growth. People who don't even have the illusion of growth within the Columbian universe are in a dream within a dream. So you have people worshiping people who have no roots. Those are the most lost. Those are the deepest enslaved. So when you have people that are into the third degree of illusion, or the third degree of separation, the third degree of being locked into a separation program, then they're basically enslaving themselves, because they're something like 10 generations behind their true potential, their true essence of who and what they are. They have no culture. Everything is plastic. They have no language. Everything has been given to them. They have no history. It's been manipulated and controlled. They have no root structures, no food, no water, no vitamins, no minerals, no nutrients of your soul exists. So on a daily basis, we can start by removing how all of this stuff that we download as our reality is not our reality. That can take an entire lifetime. If you have children, whatever it is, if you're of the consciousness that says, well, I'm going to have them have the experience of school and be around that and whatever, if you're going to do that, my recommendation would at least be to tell them, or anchor them. It's all about what you're anchored as. As long as you're anchored in a space that is deeper than the illusion, then the illusions won't really have an effect on you, because we're existing in no less than two universes right now. People who are listening to this channel, people who are expanding outside of the limitation programs. You have the dense physical reality, which is largely an illusion in itself. So you have the illusion within the illusion with the fiat currency, maritime admiralty system, the artificially egoic perspectives of reality, the political Western civilized, all that garbage. That's part of densifying the density reality. So those are the dreams within the dreams within the dreams. You also have the essence of who and what you are that's not subjected to the limitations of that universe at all. It's the non-physical reality that is being discovered by you and nobody else. It is your perspective. That is the beauty of the entire experience overall. It is you that is teaching yourself by figuring out that the experience itself is the teacher. So everything that you experience is a learning experience. And then you start to, something kicks on. You have 100th monkey experience from within yourself that kicks on. And then you start to perceive your reality from a deeper rooted system. You start tapping into the natural essence of who and what you are. You start soaking up the minerals and the nutrients of your experience instead of being poisoned by the toxification of the buildup of artificial pesticides and herbicides and the minerals and nutrients that are natural. If they build up in the soil of your reality, they will eventually start to become toxic if you don't move those nutrients and minerals through the root systems to your tree. This is where cancer sets in. The non-physical manifestation of cancer sets in when you, as the soul, do not move the minerals of your soil through the root systems of who and what you are to your experience, because you're so lost in the artificial experience that installs poisons like genetically modified foods, the meat eating industry, all of this stuff that is the food, the water, the density of the artificially egoic program. All of that is a toxification in itself. So this is, like I said in the beginning of this video, that's how it manifests from the body through the mind to the soul. But the true cancer manifests when you don't tap into the soul essence of who and what you are. This is how this stuff comes into your body before or from the original planting of this separation, the root system of your soul. So one way to lock into the illusion is to separate from the soul, then separate to the mind, then separate from the balances of your body. And then this is where people start putting on all this weight or start becoming anorexic or whatever it is. It's a separation from the balances of nature. Whether you're extremely heavy or extremely thin, it's because you have been locked into the focus of the physical reality as a whole, those imbalances of nature. So that's like a dream, another dream within a dream. That's no different than, an Aboriginal American or so-called black person hating themselves because they don't look like Barbie. They don't look like Angelina Jolie or Britney Spears or whatever, or the Frozen, or a baby, like a child hating themselves because they don't look like the Frozen princess or Hermione in Beauty and the Beast. That's the beauty. And then, so all of this stuff takes a root into your non-physical reality, but it takes longer. This is why you have to be bombarded by so much in the physical reality to affect your soul. This is how resilient the soul essence is, the conscious, the experience is. This is why you have to be fluoridated. Every drop of water that you drink, if you're drinking it, even in most bottled water, it's got fluoride in it. It's affecting you. It might be on a micronutrient or a micro toxicity scale, but it is affecting you. Same thing goes with your genetically modified foods. They're still trying to convince people that genetically modified foods are cool. That's no different than trying to convince you that transhumanism is cool, like installing computers into the body. Like, that's the same program. It works hand in hand. So this is how this synthetic Columbian universe works in order to separate you from the essence, the universal essence of who and what you are. So so that's where I was, the body. So once you get to the body, once you convince yourself that you're the body, and you really have no mind, because that's for the professors, that's for the teachers, that's for the Neil deGrasse Tysons and the Bill Nyes. They think on the mind level. So that's another version of mind control. And since they don't have any connection with the soul, they lock themselves out of that connection. Once you're in that space, you are, for lack of a better word, dead. You are a zombie. You are, on a soul essence, it's the undead, pretty much, a zombie. And everything that your universe, that you perceive as your universe, is based upon an external theory or law that is given to you by somebody else. Once you start connecting from the inside out, this information about who and what you are starts to come naturally. You don't have to, like, I haven't read a million books and all this other stuff from all the videos I put on here. It doesn't come largely from, reading all these books and doing all this stuff that's based upon the physical reality. Most of it comes just from looking at the my experiences and my thoughts and my reality from different perspectives and cross-referencing him, like creating all of these different, pretty much seeing from other people's eyes at the same time. That's what started it off. In order to really see myself through other people's eyes, I had to see through their eyes first. So in order to truly help people heal, when I was working with like my family, for example, I had to find out what was wrong, not from like this scientific perspective, but from your compassionate wanting to understand what's going on. So where are the origins of this separation program with this individual? Where are the origins of the separation program with this individual? Where did all this stuff come from? How has it grown over time? Basically like a cancer. And how has this gone over time through generations? Once you trace all of that back, you get yourself out of the emotional body. You get yourself out of the judgment and expectation emotional body of the relationship between you and that individual. And you basically get into a space of pure information, just information existing for the sake of information based upon experience. And there's no attachment to that by you or the individual who has experienced that reality. And once you see that, then you can see how that has been affecting not only the individual, but generations before that. And then you can see where it originated from them back then and how those storylines were first seeded by this separation program 100 years ago, then 1,000 years ago. Now, all of this stuff, like going through the ancestors, that makes you connected to who and what you are. It makes you more deeply connected to the people that your family members, whoever it is that you're attempting to see through the eyes of. And then it makes you closer ultimately with your ancestors, being a manifestation of their experiences up until this moment. So once you get into that space, you don't need to realize, first of all, you have to realize that you do have ancestors. You have a history that is rooted in something real, that is not connected to the artificial illusions that are based upon a limited history. Basically, like the calendar wants to tell you that time started when Jesus was born, or like that time frame. Like, this is why we're in 2017 right now, because why? This is you got before Christ, and then the Anno Domini, that whole thing. So this is the Christ time, which is not Christ time, it's Columbian time, but they have to categorize that as the Christ consciousness time. So you believe in the illusion that it's benevolent, that it has your best interest in mind. This is the expansion of the subconscious Christian mindset, the synthetic Christian mindset that develops all of these cancers in like the Catholic Church, no different than the cancers that happen in the Islamic faiths, and the cancers that happen from, no different than the cancer that happens from people worshiping Hollywood and scientism and all that other stuff. You have zero real connections because you've locked yourself into a linear form of reality when you're largely the non-linear individual. So, where was I at? So when we get locked into those illusions, we get locked out of who and what we are. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with this video. I kind of went off track with the dreams, but to end it, I guess I'll end it on the dreams, because largely, to go back to the question, like I said, everything that I was listing off in reference to the Columbian universe, that can take an entire lifetime, and it really does go down to your thoughts. Like, is the thought that you are thinking right now, is it coming from a space that is of your highest essence? Now, not to say that and then create like an expectation, but to create a knowingness that exists, that reality exists, that your thoughts are an actual vibration that interact, that have a relationship with your actual body, that have a relationship with your higher mind, that have a relationship with your soul essence. So if you are just lackadaisically kind of like skipping through the forest as Pinocchio, judging and having expectations on the trees because they don't do what you do and they're not doing, all this, then that's going to be a constant separation. You're filling your experience with illusions, largely illusions. This is no different than filling yourself with the heliocentric model every day. We just do it without talking about it because we give all our power away to the scientists and so on. So anyway, we have the artificial universe, removing the densities from the artificial ego, from the body, from the mind, reconnecting with the soul. Even from the soul, like people who are in the mainstream religions are locked into a commercial version of a soul connection. It's a plastic tree. There's no roots there. It's no different than the Columbian universe, the heliocentric model. So we have all of these things that you can do on a daily basis. And if you have, like I said, if you have children, they're going to have an entire lifetime. But the more you anchor them, you are their anchor. So the more you are anchored in something that is of the soil, of the soul, of the nutrients of reality, the more they will be able to disassemble. They will empower themselves to disassemble the illusory program. So like I said, you have no less than these two universes that are going on. This illusion universe, the Columbian universe, has to die. It's in its death throes right now. It's going to take some time, so it'll be counterproductive to, be all like, oh, well, this needs to change. Obviously, it needs to change, and it is changing. Before now, it wasn't even realized as existing, so it has to first be seen as existing before it can actually change. So if you are jumping ahead of the timeline, talking about, you don't know, what their soul is doing right now. Nobody knows what anybody else's soul is doing. Only them. And even they don't even know because it's part of the experience. So it's all happening. This is the natural time that is happening within each individual and the entire experience overall. But we've been locked so far into the illusions of everything and into the ideas of ourselves, then, we create these synthetic universes. So first of all, on a daily basis, realize that you are anchored as the soul. Hold yourself accountable for that when you are interacting in the dense physical reality. Find the balance there and continue to grow more roots. If you don't have any roots or understanding of roots in the physical reality, then you won't even allow yourself to get into the higher mind roots and the soul roots. This is what the New Age program is based upon. The New Age program is based upon creating synthetic roots in the Pleiades and the Orion and the Andromedans and all this other shit that's out there. The ancient alien perspectives create these synthetic roots that separates you. That is basically creating another Columbian universe. So like Christopher Columbus discovered the New World and created the New World Western society or civilization universe. Back at that time frame, the New Age agenda, the alien agenda, the New World Order agenda is attempting to create another synthetic universe underneath the same programming that Columbus and that Columbian time frame did when they said, we did this and we did that, and don't think about all this other stuff. It's the same thing. So realize that program is existing, decipher it, remove its density from your reality, and at the same time, you have to fill that space with the nutrients of your soul. And that's different for each individual. That's different, it's different for each culture. That's different for each perspective. It's going to, and it's that is the beautiful diversity of who and what we are, that we've been convinced to hate in order to be a part of the Colombian pop culture. So that's how that's how you create sheep. That's how you create zombies. That's how you create the dead. That's the dead program, to separate you from that and say, we're all one, or you guys are the bad religion and we're the good religion, and you're this, and it's all external. There's nothing from the inside out. There's no, it's like the difference between acceptance from the soul essence and then people saying tolerance. Like, to tolerate, there's judgment and expectations that are inherent in that word, but that word is molded together for people as the same, for people who are anchored in the tolerance perspective. Oh, I tolerate them. We tolerate the Mexicans in the United States. We tolerate the gangsters and all this others. It's a different sort of energy, but nonetheless, that's what people accept as this reality. So all of these things we can get rid of on a regular basis, and realize that ultimately, like the Democrats and Republicans, we've been separated. In every way, we've been separated, but ultimately the separation is like the Columbian universe. The true separation is the dense reality and the soul essence, or your consciousness, who and what you are, your experience that is largely expanded outside of the illusions. That's like the true space. That's been demonized as the fight against science and religion, and Noah's Ark and the Big Bang and all that stuff. So that's the commercial, like I said, with Susan Sarandon and Colbert and all that other stuff. Same thing happened back in Prohibition. But in Prohibition time, it's all about power. Ultimately, why I say that is because you start to take your power back. Back in the Prohibition time frame, when they were making alcohol illegal, not only in the United States, but in all the colonies of the British Empire, it was about power and to dominate, to have the power to enforce a law on you, such as that. And then they can give you something back. So they ended it. That's Prohibition was the only amendment that was actually overturned in the history of the United States. So that's another power mentality in your head that you get going. And anyway, dumbing down. The depressive agent of alcohol dumbs you down when it's being sold as a prescription drug to have an effect on people. So that's what it was doing. Like I said in previous videos, they don't have the so-called they don't have to be super smart. They just have to be smarter than the zombified collective, which is not that hard when people are so distracted and dumbed down and depressed and in these low vibrations of fear and self-destruction and self-hatred and so on and so forth. So all of these are programs like, what I was saying in reference to the Prohibition time frame. Back then, the politics of the Prohibition were termed, the people who were for Prohibition were called dry. And then you had the people who are against Prohibition called the wets, like the Democrats and the Republicans. So this is how people get locked into the Hegelian dialectic and this dividing and conquer mentality that we see within the illusion, within the dream, but we don't realize that it's happening in largely first in the non-physical reality. So as long as we keep subjecting ourselves to that and subjecting ourselves to the emotional responses to that, then we're not allowing ourselves to, we're not in the driver's seat. You're not in your driver's seat. You're in the reactionary seat. You're in the passenger seat, and the experience is driving you. So that's one way to start doing it on a daily basis, and that has to go all the way down to your thoughts, the way you experience the reality as a whole. And it's difficult to get control of your thoughts when you don't even know your thoughts exist. When your thoughts are somebody else's thoughts, that's where it becomes difficult. So, like I said in the beginning, I'll go back and I'll end on this in reference to the dreams. Your dreams are one window, one stepping stone back to yourself, at least opening the door to yourself. So all of these things that are in the way of your dreams are other forms of locking you into the synthetic tree of life, the density program. So you're locked into one world and locked out of the other world simultaneously. So when you reconnect with your dreams, you're reconnecting with the essence of who you are from a more organic perspective. So if you look at this sleep cycle, the stages of the sleep cycle, you can see that there's a transition. You go from light sleep, you go to shifting of the breathing pattern, you go into a deeper sleep. These are all in how they're observed by the physical reality is brain waves. So these are how I'm seeing it. And this observation is basically frequency, vibrations. This is your soul frequency making a transition. So you go from light sleep to heavy breathing, or to breathing patterns shifting. Throughout this whole thing, you can dream. You are dreaming because you're dreaming when you're awake. It's just you don't see it because the movie is your physical reality, your eyes, your nose, your physical senses, so on and so forth. So deep sleep, very deep sleep, and then rapid eye movement where the deep dreams occur. But if you look at the frequency, you can see that the frequency itself, it's an actual transition. It can be seen as a life. You have these ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs overall through the stages. You have a settling and then a spike and then a settling at stage 5. And at that settling point, that is the sweet spot for your deep dreaming. And you can see in reference to this whole video that I was talking about, in order to actually anchor yourself and get into that deep dream space, your body, your muscles have to be relaxed. Your physical body gets relaxed. And your heart rate, which is your intensity, gets engaged. So your true essence, your true experience, these are just the reflections of what you are experiencing, the you that's outside of the body. So you have all of this, your body is interpreting you as having an experience through rapid breathing, through an increased heart rate, but your body becomes relaxed. Your actual muscles become relaxed. So this is how you get, this is a good example of what needs to happen in your waking state reality. Your vibration needs to adjust to a happy medium, that space of muscle relaxation. So since you are awake, your thoughts become your heavy breathing, and your action becomes your increased heart rate. So your heart rate and your breathing doesn't increase because you've channeled that energy into a deeper thought. You've channeled that energy into a deeper root system. And your experience will be whatever it is that comes through you being relaxed. Like being in the zone if you play sports or you've played sports before, being in the zone, you're very relaxed. It's this space of knowingness that is beyond any kind of formalized thought or doingness. Think you're doing. No, if you're in that space, you're not in the zone. So becoming more in the zone is becoming more connected with who and what you are without a linear interpretation of what that is. And like that can take an entire lifetime, and it does take an entire lifetimes. It's a constant connection, a constant expansion of what that is. And when all of these categories of experience are have met the sweet spot, or their whatever it is that your soul manifested in this reality to experience, then that's when you will transition or shift into the next universe or next experience or whatever it is, however it is, I don't know, but it's something that has to do with your frequency and your vibration. And that's my main point with this video, is that we've been locked out of those frequencies. We've been locked out of those vibrations in order to worship the illusion. And once we start letting go of those illusions, then the we that we actually are will start to have an experience of a universe that's more reflective of who and what we are on the deeper levels, the soul nutrients. So that's pretty much all I had for this video. I mean, I could go on and on about explanations, but I think this video has gone on long enough as far as an introduction to actual movement that we can do on an individual basis that will eventually add up on a collective basis. And stuff like going into the flat earth and just questioning your reality is one way. You can see the cognitive dissonance in people who are defending somebody else's illusion. It's no different than, mainstream religious programs and so on and so forth. It's a big wall, in a sense. It's a big speed bump that affects our time, our consciousness, our relationship to the soul, our relationship to the higher mind consciously, and our relationship to the maximum potentials of the physical reality and what we're really doing here. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.